Hi, my name is Shay Tarks, and this is my final ClassFlow presentation for CI 454. My ClassFlow presentation is over even and odd numbers. It is intended for a second grade classroom, and the content area focus of my lesson is operations in algebraic thinking and mathematics. I will begin the lesson by introducing even and odd numbers. I'll ask students what they think even and odd numbers are, and then wait for a couple of responses. I will also ask students how to determine if a group of objects that we're looking at is even or odd. The next slide, I have my curriculum standards listed. I have my Iowa Core Standard and my Technology Standard. Moving on to the next slide, I will begin explaining what even numbers are to the students. Even numbers are numbers that end in 0, 2, 4, 6, and 8. I will explain that even numbers have a friend and can be paired up exactly. I will explain that 0 is not even, but numbers that end in 0 are even. And then I will grab manipulatives and show a couple of examples of even numbers, and I'll hand out manipulatives to each student so they can practice making even groups. Then we will move on to odd numbers. I will explain what odd numbers are, and odd numbers are numbers that end in 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. Odd numbers are lonely and cannot be paired up exactly. Again, I will grab manipulatives and show students odd numbers. And students, again, will continue to practice making odd groups with their manipulatives. Moving on to the next slide, I will call on students to come up to the whiteboard to color the even numbers in blue and the odd numbers in red. Once they're finished, I'll ask students, what do the even numbers end in and what do the odd numbers end in? That way we can practice even numbers end in 2, 4, 6, 8, 0, and odd numbers end in 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. And if they're incorrect, then we'll go back and try and fix them. On the next slide, again, I will ask students to come up to the whiteboard and to choose an even group of apples and circle it in purple, and then create an odd group of apples and circle it in blue. That way we get a couple of examples of even groups and odd groups, and they don't have to pick a specific number, they can make up a group. And then I'll ask students, once they're finished, to explain how they know the group of apples is even or odd. Moving on to the next slide, I'll ask students again to come to the whiteboard to begin sorting the even and odd numbers into groups. Students will use the pen feature to write the numbers in the correct box. For example, students would write 26 in the even group. Then, students will cross out the numbers at the bottom after they've been used. The next slide, I will ask the question to the students out loud, is 38 even or odd? And then I will call on a student to come up and again use the pen feature to circle the answer. So for example, the first question, students would answer even. And if they answer incorrectly, we'll go back and as a class look at the answer and try and understand why it's incorrect. And the very last slide, I will ask students to count the number of footballs in their head before I remove the spotlight. I will then send out a question for students to answer that asks, is the number of footballs in the picture even or odd? Once everyone has answered, I will remove the spotlight for students to see the full question and answers on the whiteboard. Then I will ask a student to come up and use the pen feature to circle the correct answer. After students finish this, I'll hand out a worksheet.